unusual bird raises its head from the stone. A kestrel falcon has decided to occupy the cliffs of Parisian monuments, and no one is going to stop him. These birds, symbols of the greatness of years past, their expressions stern and watchful, their beaks and talons silhouetted against the sun, have always ruled the skies of Paris. Are they heroic figures or only cruel? Admired for their strength and feared for their power, birds of prey have always fascinated us. Here, over its slain mate, a stone eagle stands guard, a symbol of love beyond death. Today, the kestrel has returned here to Notre Dame, soaring above these sculptures, suspended cruciform above the cathedral on skillfully trembling wings as it searches below for its prey. The falcons have returned to Paris, yet few see them. For the falcons, the ornate facades of the city's monuments are cliffs that are perfect for concealing their nests from prying eyes. It is spring, and the gardens are in bloom. The mating season for the wood pigeons and stock doves has begun.
Building started in 1163.
Notre-Dame de Paris, cathédrale symbolique de la période gothique avec Chartres, Amiens et Reims, construite dès 1163 pour l'évêque Maurice de Souzy par Villard de Haut. Eine der großen Kathedralen der Gotik für den Bischof Maurice de Souzy.
It's time for the mating dance, and the male, back from the hunt, offers his prey to the female. If she accepts his offering, their mating can begin. The female carries the nuptial offering to a sun-warmed balcony facing south. The nest will be built nearby, and mating take place. They will mate 4 or 5 times a day. They mate and they eat, never forgetting to replenish their energy by feeding between couplings. The lovebirds of Notre Dame do not live on love alone. Love goes well with plump little sparrows, and so the sparrows will have to be on the lookout. But love makes danger seem irrelevant. Hunters and the hunted gather in the same sanctuary to mate. Now it is time for each bird to build its nest. Even the wood pigeons, fascinated by the nooks and crannies of the cathedral, have abandoned the trees for the ranks of stone. Here, on the 20th floor of a Parisian high-rise, the first falcons of the year will hatch. The newborn chicks are still helpless and must be cared for. The male has offered the female a sparrow, but he hasn't only hunted it, he has plucked it so that it will be easier for her to eat. The male, a good father, has eaten the least nourishing part, the head. The bird's plump body is reserved for the hungry babies. Five falcon pairs have divided the enormous cathedral of Notre Dame between them. The transept demarcates their territories. The most sought-after roosts are niches left in the walls by 14th century masons. In springtime, anything is fair game. Sparrows, mice, and occasionally lizards are featured on the menu. The male hunts, and the female feeds the chicks as they huddle in the comfortable depths of the nest. Then, between meals, some odd-looking feathered spectators oversee the mass. Here is another monument, another cliff, the Petit Palais. Inside the museum, the falcon has chosen to hide its nest behind a sculpture of the emblem of Paris, a caravel. The chicks are 1 month old and ravenous. They may not be able to fly yet, but at least they can explore the stone sails of their strange ship. From the Petit Palais, we go along the Champs-Élysées to the Place de l'Étoile, to a new cliff, the Arc de Triomphe. At Étoile, the falcon has chosen to nest in the bas-relief of the Battle of Austerlitz, Napoleon's great victory. The falcon's victory is to occupy these cliffs so close, as the bird flies, to know one of the best hunting grounds in Paris, the Bois de Boulogne. Like a guardian of the Arc de Triomphe, this falcon watches the flags and heads of state parade by below. Nothing surprises him, nothing frightens him, not even the imperial eagle. Like other living creatures, the kestrel fights only when it is a question of survival, its own or that of its young. Storms are the only thing that make it nervous, the thunder and torrential rains that invade the chapels and drench the gargoyles. Water runs everywhere amid the rumbling, turning the flying buttresses into waterfalls where gargoyles huddle in the dark. The rains have stopped. Like a huge mountain, Notre Dame dries slowly, and, for the amusement of the Falcons, keeps the water show going for as long as possible after the storm. From now on, to prepare themselves for their predatory profession, the young falcons will try to pluck the sparrow of its feathers on their own. Paris in June. The sparrow's antics seem poetic in the sun. Sacré-Cœur at Montmartre is both a cliff for nesting and a hunting ground. Time has flown. The nestlings have already succeeded in their first attempts at flight. It's time for the first hunting lesson. The young bird captures its first mouse, which its father has placed nearby. There's no need to wait in line to see the view when you're a Parisian falcon. Leaving the cliffs of stone, a pair of kestrels, more than 100 meters up, have rented rooms in the Eiffel Tower. The young falcons are not quite ready to fly, but the intricate structure of girders and the glimpses of the grass below lure them away from the nest. They take many risks, but their father keeps a wary eye on them. Back from the hunt, he will feed the young ones only in the nest and nowhere else. Anyone straying too far from the nest goes without lunch. With as many as 6 young birds almost ready to fly, the adult males have a lot of work. Every day, they have to bring back 3 or 4 sparrows for the young ones, and often just as many mice. The month of June is coming to a close. The young falcons of Notre Dame are going to take their crucial test flights. The nest, set deep in the stone, makes practice difficult. Takeoff can be life-threatening. The best life insurance is to build up the wing muscles before flying. The father fixes his attention on the young falcons. Quickly and expertly, he analyzes the efficiency of their wing movements and assesses their weaknesses. Once again, the father falcon must feed them in the nest, probably for the last time. Flying becomes an obsession. Eagerly, impatiently, they test their wings and brave the air. Many of their early flights will end in crash landings. Even though his technique is not yet perfect, the boldest young falcon can't wait to leave the nest, and his enthusiasm is catching. His brothers and sisters want to try it for themselves. There's good reason for all the panic surrounding their first flights. The mortality rate for young falcons is high. How much will they risk in order to fly? Falcons and doves leave the shadows of the family den for the freedom of the air. The games these young birds are playing, free for the first time in the great cathedral, have given them a taste for life. Their timing is perfect. 2 little mice have decided to look for a new home. But nothing is certain. The falcon swoops upward to spot its prey. He targets his victim from more than 100 meters high, and remember, this mouse is no more than 12 centimeters long. The first attempt, it dives, then glides. Missed. It climbs once more, as quickly as possible to reach its lookout point. Quickly, there's no time to lose. A triumphant cry rings out. A cry of hunger answers. It's just like the good old days when Father brought home lunch. Performing a series of acrobatic stunts, the father entices the little ones to go hunting with him. And, for their reward, he introduces them to in-flight meals. At this stage in their rearing, several nestfuls of young birds follow a foster father who leads them. Confusion and rivalry are inevitable. Only the best young flyer will be able to seize its prey in mid-flight. Each bird understands that in order to be a good predator, it must always excel. Jackdaws watch the young falcons discover Paris and its riverbanks, its houses and passers-by. The city street is a hunting ground once again, the monuments only cliffs, and the Seine a free-flowing river. The falcons overhead seem to say that the city, which seems so hostile to animal life, can still be open country. The young falcons have only one more mission to accomplish before cutting their ties with the nest. They must prove themselves as hunters. For a young Notre Dame falcon, one of the most important exercises is to build up its claw muscles on the ironwork. Hunting also involves playing with all kinds of stone or metal prey and flying from one fantastic perch to the next. It also involves learning to forget the days when food came easily, waiting for father to return from the hunt, or receiving a tasty sparrow from mother. It's a question of finding your meals yourself. Hunting means discovering the merits of hovering, the fundamental technique for targeting one's prey. Finally, hunting means starting out as a clumsy apprentice, and one fine summer's day, you've become an expert hunter. The young falcon takes flight. Next year, if all goes well, it will start a family on another of the city's cliffs in some new territory. Perhaps it's thinking of booking a seat at the opera.